A Jacksonville mother who was one of the jurors who convicted former Congresswoman Corrine Brown on 18 federal charges says she's losing sleep. She believes jurors were manipulated into voting guilty.
In an interview you'll see only on News 4 Jax, juror number 3, who asked us not to identify her by name, sat down with the I-Team's Lindsay Gardner. The woman described just how close she says they came to a hung jury before another juror, number 13, who she called a holdout, was taken off the case and replaced.
Do you stand by your verdict today?
No. I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
Do you feel like there was bullying going on during the deliberations?
I feel like there was manipulation going on. And I feel like there was a lot of talking back and forth in front of me and 13 about our verdict. There was a lot of pressure to change our verdict and to make them understand why we chose our verdict.
If Corrine Brown was watching this interview, what would you want her to know?
I want her to know that there were people that that had reasonable doubt, and that we had stood up for you as far as voting not guilty, and we were willing to hang the jury.
That juror's allegations are giving Brown and her lawyer at least a ray of hope of finding grounds that will overturn her conviction on appeal. Following Lindsay's interview with Juror 3, I sat down with Brown and her attorney to get their reaction.
Well, hopefully I can use this as the first step to be able to get permission to do a juror interview. And based upon that interview, I want to see if perhaps I can get firsthand verification of what she told the reporter. You know, at a minimum, what we've heard about in this interview is quite disturbing. I think most people would be surprised to think that these types of things take place in juries, particularly when you're talking about a jury in a criminal trial. The sad and depressing thing, however, is that the law is very, very tough with regard to being able to open up what actually happened in jury deliberations. Ironically, a juror can talk to a reporter and give this information I think that everyone would find disturbing.
I am very upset, and I really think that if the judge had heard this information during the trial, he would have brought the jury in and would have changed maybe some of the dynamics. It is very concerning me that they would lead the other jurors to think that that person, jury number 13, was being sent to jail, and that it could happen to you if you don't vote right.
Could you be in denial about crimes that were committed, that maybe you did commit a crime?
No, I'm not.
Have you asked yourself the question?
Yes, I have, and I've looked at the evidence, and in my opinion, we have, as my attorney said, we have a judiciary system that, in my opinion, make it up as they go.
Did you cheat on your taxes?
Absolutely not. And when you look at what happened with my taxes, you know, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but clearly, if they had followed the instructions, it would have been not guilty. So I don't know whether the instructions wasn't clear or what, but, you know, that's just one aspect of, you know, all of these charges. I mean, you know, 22 charges, 350 years. You know, it's something wrong with the system. I still feel it was a witch hunt, and I stand by that.
Brown's attorney says he is going to ask for a new trial. Our legal expert, Gene Nichols, says a motion will need to be filed to start that process. At that point, the judge would look at the jurors' allegations and decide whether they are warranted. If he decides against a new trial, Brown's attorney could then ask the U.S. Court of Appeals in Atlanta to overrule the judge's decision.
Today, News 4 Jax obtained more of the evidence that prosecutors used to convict Brown. And Joy is standing by with some of the pictures that jurors looked at closely. Joy.
Mary, these photos were part of the government's case against Corrine Brown. There are dozens of bank surveillance photos like these, some showing the former Congresswoman alone, some showing her former chief of staff, Ronnie Simmons, alone. Prosecutors say they show both of them making withdrawals and deposits to the One Door for Education account. Now, this picture is one of the first recorded photos of Brown. It was taken at a bank. at the teller's counter in March of 2014. She was conducting a $400 transaction in this case. There are also some photos that show her at ATMs outside banks. About half of the photos were taken at the teller's desk, the other half at ATMs. And there are many more showing Ronnie Simmons, who testified against Brown at her corruption trial, saying Brown was in complete control of where that charity money went when it was spent on lavish parties, trips, and other personal funds. If you'd like to look at more of these dozens of photos, just head to news4jax.com right now. Mary?
Thank you, Joy. And if you do go to the homepage of news4jax.com, you'll see Tom's entire interview with Corrine Brown as well. You'll also be able to see receipts from all of those cash transactions that were used as evidence at trial.